Am I the a-hole for not wanting to raise a new sibling? I am a 24-year-old woman who just finished with my bachelor's degree and started my first professional job. I have a rough childhood growing up. My father was an alcoholic and my mother didn't really want to be a mom and she was out partying all the time. My sister is 16 now and I feel like she is my kid. We were left alone for days and even weeks at the time when I was growing up. My sister was much younger than me, so I took over the role of being a parent to her. I was the one who washed her hair and helped her with her homework and held her when she cried and made sure she had food to eat. My parents never did any of that for us. When I was 16, something happened to my parents' house that made me fear both my safety and my sister's safety. So I moved out and took her with me. My parents didn't care. I got 2 part-time jobs, went to school, raised my sister the best I could. We were very poor, but I could have given my life for her. Still would, and she's a really good kid. A few years ago, my father died and my mom remarried. The new husband is pretty much carbon copy of my father. After my father's death, my mom reached out to me for the first time in years and said she wanted to be back in my and my sister's life. I didn't really want to, but my sister wanted to, so I did it for her. At first it was okay, but my mom is back into drugs and her husband is just as bad, if not worse. The problem is mom and her new husband had a little girl. She's 6 months old now. And apparently they are doing the same things that she and my dad did with me and my sister, leaving her alone for hours at a time. I was not aware of this, but I have to say, I am not surprised. Another relative reported her to CPS and now they need to find a temporary home for my half-sister or she's going to be put in foster care. My mother suggested me, but I said I didn't want to raise another one of her kids. I understand that she is my half-sister, but I have pretty much raised myself and my sister and I am just tired. I am finally looking at the future when my sister is going to college in 2 years and I will finally have a life of my own. Have sacrificed so much for my sister and I don't regret at all. But I just want to have a life where I can be lazy for a bit if I want and I can focus on just myself instead of constantly caring for another human being. I've never had that chance before. My mother is livid, saying I am a horrible person for not taking in my half-sister. She says it will be temporary until she gets her life cleaned up. But this woman has never had her life in order. I know if I take my half-sister, it will be raising yet another child and I won't have the chance to live a life of my own until I'm over 40. I do feel awful about my half-sister ending up in a foster care. I don't want to be part of her life. I just don't want to be a parent to her. Am I the a-hole for saying no? Edited to all. I did try to shelter my other sister as much as possible about what was going on in our home. She was 7.5 and me moved out, so she doesn't remember a lot about what happened. And we weren't in contact with our mother until 2019. So I just kind of brushed off her questions and said that our parents weren't mentally well and I thought we would be better on our own. I was really hopeful that things had changed, but I still kept a really close eye on what kind of contact I allowed them to have. I supervised every person interaction they had, for example. I did talk to her tonight and gave her the whole truth. And while she was upset to learn it, she definitely understands a lot more about what happened and why we're not going to have contact with our mother anymore. As for the relative who reported her CPS, she is not in the position to take on a baby due to a chronic health condition that is growing progressively worse.
Does she though? She wasn't interested in raising her other daughters at any point in their lives. Why would she want the baby back when she's older? She has no interest in raising children. I guess she just doesn't want to feel like a failure. I know someone who adopted an older child out of foster care after parental rights were terminated. The process was quite long as the biological mom fought it every step of the way. The situation the child was in was very bad, severe abuse and neglect. She had made no effort to see the child in years. There was no question that rights should be terminated. Yet this last step of termination of rights was something she fought. It's not clear why she did, but we suspected it was a legal, public acknowledgement of how much she had screwed up her life. Yes, the sooner the child is out, the better. Courts give parents far too many chances to get their act together, further damaging children. Often by the time parental rights are terminated, children are too old or too damaged to be adopted. This is more selfishness from a woman who's already shown she's unfit. By her own sheer will and strength, Op rescued herself and her sister. This is not her responsibility, but she can certainly provide the testimony needed to rescue this half-sister and get her into a loving family home that would be so grateful. Op has done more than any child should ever have to. Parents who fail their children should not get a second, much less a third chance. She's probably afraid that if she gives her up for adoption, she'll look like a bad mother, ha 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 ha. Op is NTA. It's a sad situation for the baby, but not of your making, and no need for you to sacrifice more years of your life for your mother's irresponsibility. I agree. Op, contact your baby sister's caseworker and explain how you grew up. Explain everything going on and that you've already raised one of your sisters and you just cannot do it again. I am sure they have a placement available for an infant where she will be safe. I'd also suggest you tell the caseworker that as your mother's daughter, you highly suggest that they do what they can to terminate parental rights as soon as possible and you are willing to testify at any and every hearing needed to do so. I am so sorry that you were put into that position as a child and that your mom is trying to put you in that position again. You are not selfish. You have behaved incredibly selflessly and you deserve the opportunity to build a beautiful future for yourself. Yes. My mother does foster care and her foster teen's been in the system for years, and why do they have contact with their parents? Some even visited their parents on weekends. They aren't trying to get themselves together, they say things to hurt their kids and my mom has to put together the pieces. One kid was suicidal after a phone call with her mom. Kids cry saying parents want to sabotage their lives and want them in a group home since they are happy with my mom and they want to tell off my mom for getting any kind of money to take care of their kids because my mother doesn't let these kids spend their allowance on their parents. If you haven't done so already, you need to let CPS know about your situation as well. The fact that you had to move out at 16 and raise your 8-year-old sister proves that your mother shouldn't be allowed anywhere near your stepsister. Even if your mother does a 180 and becomes a freaking saint, she should still never be allowed to be in charge of another human being. I really hope we're able to find or get outside assistance. I can't believe any charitable organization would refuse to offer a helping hand, as long as it falls within their mission, that is.